hello everyone, and it's the fourth Save Your Wardrobe session today on the 3rd of December 2020. We're just out of lockdown, and unfortunately yesterday morning people saw fit to queue outside of Primark at 5 a.m. So we have a lot of work to do. This is our fourth session, and we've spoken with Hasna each week, and each week we've invited a different person along. So we've had Ursula de Castro, who began to help us to think outside of being a consumer and start thinking like a citizen. We met Professor Kate Fletcher, who, with her extensive work in sustainability and fashion, knows exactly how we need to act differently to become fashion citizens. Last week we had our millennial perspective with the author and journalist Lauren Bravo, who's no stranger to the addiction of fast fashion, and indeed is our reporter from the front line of the problem, having been part of it herself. But this week we've got a totally different approach. We're going to meet the fashion director and designer Anna Foster of E.L.V. Denim, who uses denim waste to make new jeans and has grand plans to upcycle waste in collaboration with luxury brands. So today what we're looking at is really how to alleviate the effects denim production has on the world, and by changing the way we buy and choosing upcycled products. And it's tied in with our step 2 in our 12-step program, how to change your shopping habits and change, or indeed save, the world. So the session will last an hour, so let's get started. My name is Melanie Rickey. I'm a fashion journalist who's passionate about sharing their message to those still engaging with fast fashion and throwaway culture. We have to make a radical change, stop those junk values, and become users of clothes rather than buyers and discarders. And we have to start now. Now, we have Hasna Kourda, the founder of Save Your Wardrobe, who is having what sounds like a brilliant and challenging week, which we will be hearing about shortly. Save Your Wardrobe is the tech startup that allows you to keep your wardrobe in your pocket, enabling connections to services that help citizens make more conscious fashion choices and get satisfaction from fully using their clothes. The app launched in March and was today listed by Apple as one of the best launches of the year. And not only that, out of the list, it was the only fashion app. So congratulations, Save Your Wardrobe and Hasna. What a legend.
Before I should have, I was
Thank
talking
you.
before you announced it. I was chatting about the app.
It's
Thank
incredible. I mean, you said I still can't quite believe it. So yes, Hasna will be sharing the news of that and the daily life of a founder. And Anna and Hasna will both be sharing with us how they think differently about shopping. And then after that, we will invite you all to join in. You can go to participants, raise your wee blue hand to ask questions and share your own stories. So let's get started. So Hasna, come on, let's hear all about it.
Oh, I'm still quite can't wrap my head around this great news. I was waking up this morning and I thought, okay, let's do the daily check of things, and I saw that yearly report, and I thought there's no way Save Your Wardrobe could be there. We've just launched the app in March, and so we didn't even have a year there, and yet here we are, and I'm extremely wowed about it, and I'm super proud of the team as well who made this happen. And some of them are in the audience right now, so I just want to shout out to them for the incredible work they've been doing, and also making sure that Save Your Wardrobe is completely different from what people are seeing in the fashion tech space, and also relaying the message of sustainability and re-understanding of behaviors or consumption behaviors in the fast fashion industry. So I'm super excited about it. I think I will need the weekend to digest the information, but to be honest, we are super grateful for the support that Apple have given us from the beginning. So they've been extremely supportive. They've featured us several times on the App Store, and here it's like we said, the bouquet finale of the year. So I'm really excited about this news.
That's wonderful. So apart from that, I know that yesterday you were like, you were having a very busy founder day yesterday. So I wondered if you could just give a little update on what is, apart from this incredible news, what else are you up to at the moment? I know there's lots of things happening in the app.
Yeah, on a startup level, it's actually being really close to being customer centric and very close to our community of users, engaging with them in a daily basis. Even though we grew our platform to several thousand of users, we need to find ways to keep communicating with them, keep understanding their needs, evolving with their needs, and especially in a new untapped space where digitalizing the fashion industry has started 20 years ago with e-commerce, and it was really a kind of shy start. Now we are really entering a new era of digital fashion, and as it's new, we need to really be focused on delivering an experience that meets our community needs, but also being mindful of what the fashion industry needs in a general level and where it should head, and in the meantime trying to disrupt a kind of obsolete industry.
Yes, you've not tasked, you've given yourself a very big task there.
I know.
So just for the benefit, and there's quite a few familiar names on here today, but just for the benefit of those who may have just joined, could you give people just a sort of summation of the objective for your business?
Yeah, so Save Your Wardrobe, we are a digital wardrobe management platform. So I'm just focusing on the word platform because there is a user faced a mobile customer-facing app where people can digitalize the content of their wardrobe. And through technology like computer vision and image recognition, but also through AI-empowered engine that is able to recognize receipts, so digital receipts we have in our emails. We are able to build instantly a first version of people's wardrobe effortlessly just by scanning those receipts. And then we create an ecosystem of services as a way to extend the life of garments. So being repairs, alteration, customization, donation as well, reselling, rental. So anything related to the wardrobe management, we want to include that and curate it in the app. And why am I just building that difference between the consumer facing and the back end is that during the lockdown and the crisis, the global pandemic, many services came to us and said, we don't have the digital capacities or the skills to enter the digital world, and we are also facing this crisis of drops in footfall. How can Save Your Wardrobe help them? And actually we are really bridging that gap between what people have in their wardrobe and their purchases with the aftercare world in a digital space.
No, it's really, I've been doing my shoes and bags onto the app this week, and I'm inquiring and getting in feedback to repair a Fendi bag, and it's really good. It really, I know it will get fixed, but there's, toing and froing, but it works.
Yeah,
it feels good.
Yeah, that's actually the what we want to do, that feeling good in the app of refocusing on things we have in the past and how can we love them for longer. And that also brings a feeling of, I did something good, and not only good for my wardrobe, but also for the planet.
Yeah, totally. Because I'm doing it, I've discovered clothes I forgot, boots I've forgotten. I don't need to go to the shops to update my boot wardrobe because, hey, I forgot about those in the darkest corner of my wardrobe, and it does work. So I'm a bit, as you know, I'm passionate about it, but it just opens up everything very differently. So now your business partner is your husband,
Yeah.
Ned. And I guess you've spent, so what's it like running the business
Actually, I've never seen him less than since we started this business. We, especially with the confinement, he is upstairs in the office, and I just arranged a corner in the bedroom, and it's ridiculous the amount of time that we spend not seeing each other. But yeah, it has its highs and lows because it's at the end of the day we work maybe too much. Every interaction we have is around work, and thankfully we have a little one that gets us out of our computers and out of our screens, and actually today is it's his birthday, and this morning he said, actually what I want for my birthday is that you stop working this evening, and so we felt so bad. Yeah, so yeah, working with a partner and spouse is challenging, but also there's this common objective that we want to reach together, and I feel like it's also a way to really build a stronger relationship. But I might not recommend it to any couple.
Oh, I love Mehdi. So yeah, I want to finally ask you before we move the conversation into the world of denim. What have you been learning about your super users? I know we discussed this a little bit last week, but I know that they're growing in number. More people are uploading more things, and you're very much about the integrity of the app and what they're gaining from it. Have you got any good stories for this week?
Yeah, I'd love to share stories about our users. Actually, what we call super users is not just how they interact in numbers in the app, but those who as well we know them even almost personally. We have interviews with them. They get in touch with us to request features, improvements. They feel involved in the business, and they feel like they and actually. There were an attendee earlier, Candice, who was one of our first user that we interviewed in the beginning, and knowing about them, knowing about their lifestyle, and having that kind of conversation, and how can we build this future of the fashion industry together is what we really want to achieve. And yeah, there are really beautiful stories from people that are in the military, or people with a special story that Sylvia Woodruff has actually changed the way they could in a very small or detailed ways that really changed their lives and made them feel better, or made them feel reach a goal in their personal life. And it's really rewarding to build an impactful business, and an impactful something that has an impact on personal lives, and obviously in the macro we've also calculated environmental impact as well.
It's interesting that I've just been reading a book called Lost Connections by a guy called Johan Hari, and he highlights that junk values, this whole idea of that consumerism is rewarding, is actually one of the biggest fallacies of modern time, and that kindness and true values are what counts, and in a way that's what your app is doing, which is quite fabulous in a lot so many ways, and so that will bring us on to Anna, because Anna's story, she comes from a fashion background. Anna is the fashion director of a beautiful magazine called Rush. She's worked for Grazia. She's a contributor to Lula and worked as an all-round celebrity stylist for many years. We had a chat this morning, and we talked so much about how the fashion industry, has been going wrong, as you said before, is becoming more and more obsolete. And so I wanted to introduce Anna. Hello. Thank you, Hasna. We'll be chatting on with Hasna throughout the rest of the hour. So yeah, Anna, we talked about the fashion industry and how you work for an Australian magazine called Rush as their fashion director, but you work from London, and it was one of the working for them has highlighted the waste in the fashion industry. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, well, I'd love to. So Rush's my relationship with Jess started a couple of years ago. I loved the magazine and reached out to them. They operate on a kind of quite a family basis. So they have like a family of contributors, and then when one leaves, they invite someone in, which I love that. And so it just happened that Jess was realizing that they were spending so much money and energy and cost and carbon footprints sending fashion directors over to Europe to shoot, where you have the models, photographers, and the clothes. So it just made more sense to have myself on the ground. And then when we were talking about it, it does make sense. All brands have their small kind of offices in their own territory, and they want to hold on to that identity. But it's really daft that if I'm in Europe, just because the magazine's in Australia, then someone's sending me a dress from Australia when they we could all liaise with London, and so it gets sent to me directly. There's less time, there's effort. We should all share and pool resources.
But the fashion industry are insane. So, travel, sending people to the shows, flying clothes around, getting 10 pairs of black trousers onto a shoot when, as the stylist, you could choose the one that you want.
Exactly. I should be more impressive in my job. I request minimal pieces to come because I know already that I need it. There were the days when you would have racks and racks and racks and racks of clothing, and then you would only shoot 10 outfits that you put together. And really the prep should go on beforehand. And I think, the fashion industry is wising up to a lot of these things. Fran Burns, who's a very prolific fashion director, she started realize she worked with the sustainable angle, and they produced a whole kind of manifesto on how you can produce a fashion shoot more sustainably and more consciously. Shooting another cover story next week in London, and with London-based samples. So it's
getting more localized.
It can work. Yeah, and I think during the pandemic it became more apparent what you can do. I actually did one of my favorite cover shoots with a model and her partner in LA. We sent clothes to them. They were from different press offices in America. I wasn't even there. And I was, and it was the best shoot I've ever done. And so you could, as long as you have people with the same kind of aesthetic together in a room or in a space, it's my job to put those right people together. And I should be confident of my ability to do that and allow them to do their job without micromanaging them.
That makes a lot of sense. And I think that the amount that will be saved with that attitude going forward is going to be huge.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to your denim habits. And, what prompted you to start E.L.V, which stands for East London Vintage.
Vintage, yes, East London Vintage Denim.
East London Denim.
Because all the pieces are made up of vintage denim, and everything is produced and designed in East London. So it just kind of made sense to call the name what it was. Although loads of people abbreviate and called it E.L.V denim, and I'm like, it's not E.L.V denim. It's not made by elves. It's made by some amazing people in Walthamstow. So, but you learn your lessons.
Indeed. So cotton production, dyes, water usage, the impact of denim. Clearly, they were all big reasons why you thought this has to happen.
I think when I started this, I come from a completely different. I'm not a traditional fashion designer. So I kind of approached it with quite a naive, or just face a very, very unbiased background of how this was going to work and what I wanted to do. And all I could see that it wasn't so much I knew about the story of denim at that time. It was more that I knew about that there was piles and piles of denim not being used. And then as I discovered more about the processes, I was like, oh my God, why wasn't I doing this a long time ago? And I think there is very few official figures within the sustainable field that you can actually quote. There's so much information. Some is fake news, some is real news, and you just have to try and decipher this information in a way of common sense. So I figured out that by going on the World Health Organization platform, that there is nearly 8 billion people in the world, And then I figured out from reading Newsweek articles and other information that there was 4 billion pairs of jeans produced last year. So it doesn't take, although no one has actually said this statement, there are more jeans than people in the world. And you just have to put those two statements together, those two facts together to work that out. And then we think back into like the 60s and the 70s when we were produced, and the 50s when denim was produced as a hard wearing fabric. And suddenly you've got billions and billions and billions of pairs of jeans that are sitting around not being used. And then coupled with the fact that to grow the cotton and then to make it into the denim and then to dye the denim, all those processes are polluting the environment with chemicals, with water pollution, water waste, really poor environmental impacts and social impacts.
Absolutely.
Because, because Melanie, we were talking earlier that when we offshored, first world countries seem to offshore their manufacturing processes in search of the cheaper material and cheaper production. We offshored it on to third world countries where we can't monitor the manufacturing processes. So, but we offshored it so to get the cheaper garment, and then it comes back to the UK. So, all those elements that it's damaging environment, it's damaging communities, it's damaging society. And so all of that, plus the water, plus everything else, I was like, denim, yes. So it's a short way of saying it. It just felt that denim was the key material that had to be addressed in my point of view.
Yeah. I mean, when I was working at Grazia, and we worked together many years ago, but I remember very clearly there was a very big glut of brands launching, and it was a different pair a week that was the it jean. And I remember Vanessa Friedman from the New York Times doing a speech at the Copenhagen Fashion Summit, and she walks on stage with this enormous pile of jeans and highlights, oh, this is on trend, that's on trend, and she just did this very, very visually arresting way of showing how absolutely insane the whole denim thing in particular was. And the way that fashion was written about, the way people were encouraged to consume yet more, when in fact, when I was a teenager, I graded denim for a living as my part-time job while I was at university. And I was getting jeans from the 1920s, 30s, 50s that were still in full working order.
Yeah, so it's hard to quantify all of this, people.
Yes, it is.
And, you have these statistics that it takes 10,000 litres of water to make a pair of jeans, and that's not even including the pollution. And, I couldn't tell you whether this was 200 square feet or, an apartment is 200 square feet. I have no concept of spatially awareness. I have no concept of space and measurements. And so when someone said to me 10,000 litres of water, I couldn't quantify that. But then if you explain to someone that's the same that one person drinks in 13 years. So my son is 13. So to make one pair of jeans, I know there's so many different methods of creating denim, but until everyone had this wake up moment, it's the same amount that he drank for 30 in his whole entire life to make one pair of jeans. And that's the thing that scares me. It's this, we just had this belief that water was, forever, and all these kind of natural resources that we had were just on tap, and they're not.
So when you started, so that brings us neatly to Mountains of Denim.
Yes.
And Anna Foster's mission, literally, to scour the country in your car to find them.
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Yes. So I climb mountains and mountains and mountains of denim. There's a really lovely film that I had made because I wanted to kind of chart this journey of the jean. And in it, you literally see me climbing mountains of denim. And this denim mountain that I climb is probably one of 4 or 5 mountains in this one warehouse. And then this warehouse gets new deliveries of the same amount of mountains every month.
Wow.
So there is just so much. And I have become guilty of rescuing too many pairs. And I have 2 storage units full of denim that I couldn't bear to let go. But then also I found that we're through different kind of processes. I realized that all the vintage warehouses that I go to, where do they source their denim? Now they source them from third world countries that have been sent all the rubbish from our country. When we send things to charity shops have they can only hold a certain capacity. So they require textile associations to help them sort all the pieces that they can't actually hold. They don't have the capacity to. So then you have textile banks that are on the side of our streets that you put in your fabrics that you don't want. The textile banks, they collect everything and then they sort them, but we don't always have the manpower and it's not affordable to sort it here. So then we ship all of our rubbish over to another place where it's cheaper to sort, and then vintage warehouses buy it back.
Oh my goodness. So it travels the world in this sort of strange recycling kind of...
Yes, like on a boat. It's like a recycling boat that just travels around. So then I thought, well, I just need to go to the source.
Yeah.
So the source is much less pleasant. I mean, climbing mountains of denim is not the best, and it's cold and it's miserable, but I do it. But then actually sorting through before it gets sorted is even more hard work, and you literally are sorting through rubbish. But then for me to try and rescue that jean before it goes on that huge, long, humongous journey, it just felt like that's where I have to try.
That's the right thing to do. I mean, that does sound insane. That, again, it's all those air miles or sea miles and all of the pollution that's associated with that.
But I don't think. I mean, I'm sure there are a few people at the top of this kind of pyramid of fashion going, haha, they don't realise what they're doing in some kind of evil, maniacal way. But as a consumer, we just, I don't know, it's a bit embarrassing to say that our eyes were blinkered, maybe we didn't know. But if we actually thought about it, if we actually thought about the price of fast fashion, the price of denim, and actually realising we were educated in the way that these things are made, you really, really would think twice about buying a pair of jeans for £19.99 or anything for under £10. Because that means that got, and you look at a garment, you think, God, that took I wouldn't be able to knock this up in an hour. So that means that person that got paid to make that garment was
absolutely. I mean, it's
not even 1% of what it costs to make.
It's something Hasna and I talk about a lot. Is there's no discussion about anything from the point of sale onwards. So there's only ever, encouragement to buy rather than encouragement to use.
The transaction is really at the end of the story, the relationship between the brand and the customer, and then there is a kind of social media.
This is where the customer has to take the ultimate responsibility, because from my point of view, yes, I do wear high street clothes. But I put the same value on that high street garment that I do on a really expensive garment from a designer, because that's my responsibility as a consumer. So I have things in my wardrobe from 20 years ago from Zara, but I love that as much as, so it's my responsibility, because if I buy that fast fashion piece, is it fast fashion when I have it in my wardrobe for 20 years? I don't think so. I don't believe so. And because I have that garment for the same amount of time.
But it's still a conversation that the usership of things, I mean, you use them, but a lot of people don't, there's not a lot of conversation around aftercare. But anyway, we're talking about that now because this is the definition of what you do. So in terms of, so you get your mountain and you find your jeans. Now, what happens next?
So then it comes back to me in my studio in East London, and I work with a very lovely man called Kourda, who has a laundrette on Clapton High Road. Clapton Road. And he comes in his electric car and picks up the jeans from me, and he washes them in his laundrette. And it made sense, obviously, to try and wash in bulk, but it also made sense to try and support a local business. Because otherwise I'd be shipping it somewhere. I don't know the methods they use. And so this way in the community, and I know that everything is washed to its optimum value. So now that's why I know that I only use 7 litres of water per jean. And then Kourda brings them back, and then they get paired. Each jean finds its friend, its soulmate. And we do that by hand here. So I kind of pair every single pair of jeans. Then they get sent, I use a factory up in Walthamstow, so it's within my 5-mile radius, and I often drop jeans to them on the way to take my son to school. It just made sense to have everything locally. And I think it comes from a point of common sense when you're trying to create something that's sustainable. I just use my common sense, and I thought, well, should produce them here because it makes sense. I've got an amazing factory here, and we did have the hub of East London was the hub of manufacturing. It was an incredible industry which we offshored a long time ago. So let's try and help resurge it. And there is a resurgence around there, and there are more places, and they operate in a really kind, socially responsible way.
Yeah. You're hiring, you're working. I'm sorry, did you want to say something, Hasna?
No.
Oh,
sorry.
No, I was just saying that I know that you're working with the Hackney Kickstarter project to do some local hiring for some of the staff that have lost their jobs in retail this week in Debenhams and Topshop, that you want to work with local women to help you make your jeans.
Yeah, so I mean, there's two elements of that actually, because there's myself and Hannah who are at E.L.V Denim. There's two of us, and the business does need to grow. And then Hackney put out part of their business network. They put out a part of their newsletter saying that the Kickstarter program was operating, and so I reached out to them, said I'd love to do that because I would like to give an opportunity to young people that might not necessarily, that they'll have a passion for working in fashion and for sustainability, but don't necessarily have that access or to work in the fashion industry. So I'm going through the process now. It should be launching in January, and I should be getting my first CVs through my first applicants at the end of Jan. And there'll be generally young people out of school or out of college that are looking for a job. And then other parts of, most of my jeans are produced in Walthamstow and Atelier, but then I've started producing a new jumpsuit which I've made out of the scraps of jeans that can't be made into my new jeans. But that's 45 pieces that are hand cut, hand sewn, put together, and I've become really good friends with a pattern cutter and a seamstress who work locally in Walthamstow. And since the pandemic, people have been losing all sorts of regular work that they had, and I just thought, well, why doesn't this become a project that we all work on together? So each one of made by hand, everything's made to order. And it's just part of a collective that everyone, we don't have to work 9 to 5. They've got kids, we can do it during the school term, at the holidays, they don't have to. It's just you just have to be kind and considerate to people. It doesn't take a lot to figure that out.
You said something to me earlier on that you think you are the most sustainable denim brand in the world. And so is it because the fact
sorry.
Is it because you drop your denim off to the laundrette on the way on the school run, and because you work with people in Hackney, and because of all of that keeps it local? And is that why you say that?
Everything I produce is made from upcycled material. There's no new material in any of the garments that I make. So that was one reason. Also, and I know other people do that, but I don't think they do it locally, and I don't think they do it with such a low carbon footprint. So if I'm wrong, honestly, it would be great to find that maybe someone in a different country is doing that. It's not that I'm ignoring what they're doing, it's just I'm not aware of it. But I think, we all have to be really transparent as a business. If you're making statements, that you're a sustainable brand, you have to have the evidence to back it up. And we're very transparent about all the information we have on the website, showing how everything's made, why we make it, and that I'm trying to make the most use out of a pair of discarded jeans. Because so many of the jeans do come, they're larger sizes, they're out of fashion, and I want to give them a new life.
You also said you recently did a project with Hyundai, didn't you? And it inspired you to think about what you would do with waste from luxury brands. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, so Hyundai approached me earlier in the year, and they wanted to work with, the car industry is a hugely polluting industry. The fashion industry is a hugely polluting industry. So I thought they'd just marry the two and see what could happen. And it was a real eye-opener. It was great to see a car manufacturer being so willing to share information, to be honest about what they're doing, to be honest about what they could do better. And I had to, their idea of waste and my idea of waste is completely different. So it was it was a great way of going into a larger business and also maybe pointing out some quite obvious things. But I would love to kind of, I've got an idea to kind of put all us upcyclers together, and then maybe we can approach large kind of bastions of the fashion industry and go in there. And, you know, if anybody from a large luxury fashion house wants me to go in and upcycle their denim, I would, or any other hard wearing fabrics, I would be more than welcome. I'm willing to, sorry.
I think that's I do think that's a brilliant idea, because the amount of waste out there is, well, only the people with the piles of it know. And also there's the issue when luxury brands, imagine how much unsold clothing there is just from the pandemic.
Yeah.
You know, what you could do with that, or you know, there's just so much potential. I love the idea of you putting together like the upcycling club and like getting like a sort of dream team, like a super group. Okay, here we are, we're ready to come and upcycle, because I think that people thinking that they need to buy new, and actually I love the idea that the jeans that you make are made from, you know, I like the styles that you have. One of you, tell us about your most successful style, because it's...
Oh yes, I think the one I'm known for is the real contrast colour. So you can either, and they're called the twin because they are made of two jeans. They're two new jeans, make two old jeans, make two new jeans, and they're the same but different. They come from the same family, but they become new ones. So they're twins of each other. And I think that's the jean that people would probably recognise the brand for the most.
Yeah, I would too. The one's like a stripe down the outside.
Yeah. And so lots of people come in thinking they want something traditional and a little bit more matchy, and they always end up with a black and light blue contrast. I don't know how come they do, but they do. And so we have the contrast, and then we have a match as well. But all the jeans are unique because they have to be by definition, because they're made of vintage denim. So the size works, everything's been sized with patterns. But, you know, I always say, if you find your jean, don't hold back, because once that's gone, that's gone.
Yeah, also your fit is very good. You don't have many returns, which is something I was really fascinated by. How does that work?
Well, I tried to size the brand, again, with not having a history in denim production. I knew that when I was a consumer of other denim brands, Gap or Frame, I was like a size 24. Now, I'm a little individual, but there's no way I am 24 in any shape. Maybe around my thigh, I'm 24 inches, I don't know. But I found it so frustrating that where's that measurement come from? So when we decided to grade the jeans, I've got a tape measure here. So you literally stand here, you measure, you breathe in, because nobody wants their jeans to hold on, you know, you want them to hold you in. Yes, so you breathe in, and then that's the size you take. So I'm a 26 and I wear a 26.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Thank you for that. So I'm not a 24 or a 23, I'm a 26. And sometimes I want them to be a bit looser, so I'm a 27. You know, there are three fits, because also I also hated the fact, as you were saying with Vanessa Friedman, when she came, I would be so frustrated. I would go somewhere and we're out, we don't make that style anymore. And surely denim needs to serve you as that part of your wardrobe, that is your stable part of your wardrobe. You know the jeans you like, you love them, they have them in different colorways, but the fit is the same.
There's also the tyranny of tiny sizing. You know, so many of the high fashion brands do just tiny jeans, and the USA that you can't buy tiny jeans.
But also someone did tell me that I should change my sizing because it would put people off. And I was like, well, I said, I understand that, but also it's confusing. If you measure yourself in the way that we instruct you to measure, then you can't go wrong. And that's why we've only had 4 returns this year. So
that's the fashion light in action, you know, vanity sizing. So you want something that says 24 when you're 28. Like, where's the reality there? But it's just what makes people feel better. I've written a lot about vanity sizing, and it is nuts.
But I will wear as much larger size if it makes me feel comfortable. I remember buying a dress that was a size, it was a size 10, no, a size 10. And then I realized that after having it for ages, I realized it was an American size. It was the first time I've ever bought by Marc Jacobs. And I was like, oh my God, so I actually bought a size 16 or something. But I liked it. And I thought I was being, oh, it's a size 10. Oh, it's not going to fit. And I'd actually bought the wrong size completely. And it just shows that it's about the mindset. It's not about your actual size. So I wanted to kind of debunk those whole myths.
Yeah. You talked to me about how your most successful upcycling projects are actually using big jeans.
Yes.
Yeah. Tell me a bit more about that.
So there's already a desire, as you know, being a grader at Rocket when when you're a teenager, that people already want those smaller sizes. They want those. They want all those very desirable vintage brands in size 26 up to 32. Everybody wants those. So there's always a kind of a little poor sad area of larger sizes that nobody wants. And that's where I come in and I try and scoop those up. I try and scoop up what nobody else wants and make something good out of them. And that was kind of part of the design, so I could actually access amounts of denim that were not required by anybody else. And I think that's what you have to do when you work with waste and things that aren't desired. You have to I look at the pair of jeans and I say, okay, so I can't use that part, that's got marks on it, that's got stains, what can I make out of it?
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of time, and it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of effort. But but everything to do with a sustainable and environmentally conscious life requires effort.
100%.
Otherwise, you just have to put that. It's a bit like Hasna. We upload all our clothes to the Save Your Wardrobe. Yes, it takes effort, but then you are utilizing all the pieces in your wardrobe that if you don't, then somebody else could utilize it. And I was wondering whether you could kind of do like a Russian roulette. So you could basically press a button on your phone, and then an item from your wardrobe you haven't seen for decades would pop up on your phone. You're like, right, you've got to make that work today. Because I did that today, because I decided to wear this shirt, which I haven't worn in a long time, and this waistcoat, again, that I haven't worn in a long time. When I was an assistant stylist, I worked for a stylist that worked for Hussein Chalayan, and I used to get paid in clothes. And so I've had this waistcoat for 20 years? And and so it's sat there, and I know it's amazing because the design is phenomenal, but I just don't wear it every day today. So I did my Russian roulette, and I was like, pick two things out of the wardrobe, and I was like, I'm going to make that work. And it does take time, it does take effort to try and put those things together, but so does being conscious, and so does being a morally good person. If it was easy, actually no, it should be easy. It needs to be easy.
It needs to be normalized.
It needs to be normalized, yeah. And
that's the crucial thing about Save Your Wardrobe, that I was like, oh, digitizing my wardrobe. But then as soon as I've done it, it's like, yeah, it's so rewarding. And it's the same for you. Now, I've got two more questions before we open up the floor. If we have a few questions, I'm not sure which order we'll ask them. Now, one of them is about the community in denim that you're part of. Mm-hmm. And the other one was the question about whether you would, and I know that you talked earlier on about an app that you discovered years ago, but you uploaded items to your wardrobe, but it was in your own phone and you gave up on it. Yeah. I know you're a big keeper of things. Would you, number one, would you digitize? Would you do that?
100%. Yeah. 100%. I've already made, I want to put aside time to do this. And I think it's a really important exercise. It means that we actually take everything out, we put everything back in, we realize the things that we don't, but it's a little bit selfish of someone with a large wardrobe not to do this, because effectively you're just saying, oh, it doesn't really matter about that, oh, it doesn't worn that, I haven't worn that. If you don't want it, you resell it, you change it slightly. I think we all have a duty as a wardrobe owner to do this, because I think it could bring out so many things. It's like shopping from your own wardrobe, isn't it, really?
Totally.
Yeah.
And
100% I'll be doing it. I'll probably need a little bit of tech advice, but I'm sure you provide that. But I think it's a brilliant idea.
And what about now also the community you're in? So I'm fascinated to hear about, other people doing, I know and actually, that you've said you think you're the most sustainable brand in the world. I love that. And I know
do say it like eek, just in case. I don't want to, don't want no one like.
You know the effort you put in. You know that you're stopping things from travelling. You know that you're saving waste. You know that you drop the jeans off at the laundrette on the way on the school run. I mean, these are things you don't hear very often. So who is in your community? What are there other brands or businesses doing anything similar?
Yes.
that you appreciate?
I think that loads of brands have had to, they've woken up quite quickly to what was going on, and maybe they were already. There's a brand called Kings of Leon. They are not Kings of Leon.
That's a band. Kings of Indigo.
Kings of Indigo. I'm like mad already. So Kings of Indigo, and they're based in Holland, and they are wonderful. And I was on a panel with the founder of Kings of Indigo and also of Boyish Denim. And they are trying to change and improve their processes all the time. And I take my hat off to them, because for me, it's easy. I started from a point of sustainability. You couldn't really, but can you imagine if you've got all those processes set in stone already, and then you have to undo them and start again, but still trying to make the same project, the same product at the same time as making the product. You have to change the components. It's like making making a cake, which and then having to change all the ingredients, but you want the outcome to be the same.
Yeah,
really hard. And then there's Mud Denim in Netherlands that they take back old denim and they recycle that and turn it into their new cotton. But that's part of next year is my quest to make things a little bit more circular. There's literally me and Hannah. We don't have anyone else in the business, but I want to grow the business and then also start thinking about how I can make this business more circular. So people bring their jeans back, they make a discount for the next pair. We try and upcycle it as much as we can, otherwise it gets turned into something else. Just keep our community communicating with them.
You've also said you will be encouraging people next year to bring their old jeans, and you would then repurpose them.
You can bring your own jean in. You can find out your style, and then I can match it with a pair of my own jeans as well. So try and give life to something. I've also got another project, and I want to make my own denim, but that's a whole nother side of which we need about 5 hours for that one.
Okay, well, on that note, I will say thank you to you, Anna, and to Hasna. I wanted to say that there was one thing I attended at Draper's earlier in the year. Now, all of those big denim companies they are developing machines to use less water. There's a lot going on in the space.
Yeah,
it's an interesting area for sure. So anyway, thank you so much. I have just got so many great visuals of you on denim mountains going to do all these various things, and the jeans are beautiful. I wish actually we had thought to bring an image of a pair. I'm sure we can see some behind.
I can show you. These are my E.L.V family. These are my friends and family that I put in the campaign, because I just felt.
I can see Hannah as well.
There's Hannah here.
Hi, Hannah.
So that's Josh, you remember Josh, won't you? He was my first assistant.
Oh my goodness, Josh, yes.
Yes, and then Candice Fraggis, who's been an amazing supporter.
Oh, he's been modelling for you.
Yeah, my daughter, and then Mina, who's also a big mentor for me, and then Sarah, who's like my muse.
Very nice.
Jess Maloney, who's also someone that's
I love that.
Yeah, they've really supported the brand. So I kind of thought, why am I using models when I've got amazing real life people here? My first ever client is now one of my best friends.
Who's that?
She's called Vanina, and she came in to get a pair of jeans when I did a little thing with Alex Eagle right at the beginning, and I went to her and her husband's 10th wedding anniversary last year with her. So we've become really good friends, and that's how I feel about my community. I've got another girl called Rain Alamilla. She's the director. She came in to get a pair of jeans. She promptly took back the 2 pairs of jeans that she'd bought from a contemporary brand. And now she's in my new she's like going to be in my new lookbook, and she was here earlier, and she's I love having these people that we all work together and we can support each other. It's just great.
It's wonderful. Well, good luck for the future. Now, I'm not sure if anyone's put forward any questions, but you don't have to put forward questions. You can simply speak out and ask a question. So is there anyone that would like to ask anything or have any questions about either Anna or Hasna?
Oh, I could ask Hasna a question, actually.
Oh, go on then.
When we upload all our pictures to you and our images, and then because I've heard of an amazing company called the Stockholm Steamery, they're based in Stockholm, called Steamery, and they're kind of creating a denim wash. So would you have like care packages or ways of giving your client, giving all the community information about that?
Yeah, that's exactly what the ecosystem of services and that service tab is about, is actually bringing awareness to how can you care for your clothes, how can you give them a second life. And the idea is to get connected with any services or any company that can provide that service or even provide that knowledge. So we have a section called Empower Your Wardrobe, where you can actually either through a do-it-yourself or through someone like E.L.V could resuscitate 2 pairs of jeans together, or so that's also something that is live on the app actually.
Yeah, I love that. Empower your wardrobe. That is
yeah.
Is that your byline? Empower your wardrobe, save your wardrobe, empower your wardrobe. I love that.
Yeah, hack your wardrobe and empower your wardrobe. Yeah. So the point is to bring awareness on what you have and what you can do with it, and not just continuously buying something new or keep the accumulation. Melanie, you're on mute.
Sorry, I had someone drilling next door.
Yeah, same for me today. Don't know what's going on.
I was just saying, Lilia said she wanted to ask something, but she had to shoot off all of a sudden. So, but I was also going to say, we were talking last week. We didn't talk about last week was the 4p sale on Pretty Little Thing. Did you hear about that, Hasna?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yeah, 8p or 4p. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I mean, that shows how ridiculous these brands, fast fashion brands, are, to just shamelessly put these type of things in the market. Not just ridiculous for the person who will buy them, but also the disrespect for the person who did them or made them. What is the percentage that someone who made that top will get from that sale? I can understand all the arguments around economy at scale. I can understand the arguments about automation, but how can you shamelessly put that in the world and not to think about an ethical way of distributing wealth and profits? It's beyond any.
I think that's the worst case ever in the history of
we
ever.
saw it, and then we
Last year
things were sold out.
Really, yeah.
But maybe that's what to do. I don't know. Even if it's marketing kind of ploy to get people on the website, it's still sick. It really is.
I have another question that's just come to me, which is, do you think upcycling, I mean, it will catch on because waste has to be used, but do you think upcycling will create a new fashion look? Because, you know, new fashion looks a certain way, but if we all go organic, then the dyes we use, they'll be more natural colours rather than extreme colours. And if we start to upcycle, do you think the aesthetic you're developing with your jeans might become...
Yeah, totally. And it's actually a point that Ursula made in the first session, saying there are already pairs of new denims that are sold in a distressed way with that
they
dye.
take a long time, and they spend a long time distressing them.
I spend a long time, lots of money, lots of machines doing that, lots of resources, lots of chemicals, just to wear your jeans. And once it reaches that level of distress or whatever, that's when you actually have something really nice that you've worn, that you've loved. And if one generation can't achieve that, get it from an older person, your parents or your older brothers and sisters, and get it done by yourself. But the appreciation for kind of destroyed things is there. I don't know why, but the thing is that you can take them from upcycled and give them a second life, and also wear values instead of just wearing styles. And I feel like that will have nice uptake, even when dyes will be sustainable or eco-friendly, or even when the work ethics will be mainstream. That appetite is will be there still.
Oh yeah, I think that, but on the converse of that, I think it's just, we do live in an aesthetic world, and I think the job of designers that do upcycle is meant to make, you know, I feel that my jean has to look as super chic and modern and polished as a modern made unupcycled garment. I think we just have to be clear. It has to feel the same for the consumer, that they don't really know the difference. Because there is a balance, you know. Yes, we should all know that you should focus on my denim because it is upcycled, but the reality is lots of people won't. They'll pick it because it looks good, and then they'll go, oh wow, and it's really good for the environment. It comes from both angles, and so I think you have to marry aesthetics and sustainability.
Going back to that, Anna, one of our lovely people on here have asked, Candice Barrett, thank you. Do you offer a denim refresher spray, or how do you encourage your customers to care for their denim correctly and reduce washing in the machine?
Well, I think that actually when it comes to denim, there is that, you know, you don't have to wash it continually. You put the guppy bag in the machine, you wash it at a low, you don't wash it on its own, you wash it with like colours, is it?
Low temperatures, yeah.
Low temperatures. I'm actually going to try, I don't make my own denim refresher spray, but I know that there are a few out there, and actually I am trying one I mentioned before, just because I only heard about them the last couple of days and they sound amazing. This company called The Steamery, and they do one, so they're sending me some to try. But I also like the idea is that actually you can steam, you can put
just a steamer without even any product would work with the high temperature.
But I think you can steam, if you can, that you can steam and put an antibacterial steaming solution into your steamer and then use it that way. So
yeah, what I meant is that the high temperature acts like an antibacterial effect. So if you don't have a steamer while you are taking a shower, you can put your denim, hang your denim or your shirt right next to that, and it will act as well as a kind of gentle clean or refreshener, and no chemical involved or no extra product involved in the process. So very easy. Whenever you take a hot shower, you just hang that for 10 minutes and it's done.
Oh, 10-minute shower, that sounds luxurious. I know you've got kids, Hasna. I'm thinking, when are you going to shower?
Yeah, it's been a while. It's been a while. But no,
go through it without someone going, can I have a towel? Can I have this? Can I have that?
I know Candice. She's actually one of our first users.
Has Candice been on before? Hi, Candice.
Yeah, she knows that. And I know she doesn't have kids.
So
unless since then.
A 10-minute shower, Candice.
That would be nice. Okay,
but yeah, also just put them not in the winter obviously, but whenever it's exactly. So there are so many ways, and I know that this might sound gross, but my father have rarely washed his denim unless there is a big stain, and my mother don't wear denim at all, so she doesn't even bother.
Yeah, I don't really I don't wash mine. I don't, like my old Levi's, and they're fine. But if you've got something a little bit more like a sort of, you know, more of a black jean or whatever, they need a little bit of a refresh every now and again.
And I think also if you do get marks, you do. But I think again, it's common sense. If you know you're washing your jeans every week, then that's a lesson to yourself. You have to be, you know that's not.
Well, also the biggest carbon footprint comes from, I mean, believe it or not, the crazy thing is the biggest carbon footprint actually comes from post you know, once it's owned by someone.
20%. It's 20%.
Yeah, crazy. But the whole thing is crazy, and I think that's what this session has highlighted is, you know, what's possible. Anna is showing us how, and what the future could be, how things are looking at how the Upcycling Gang of London are seeking to collaborate with luxury brands and get their hands on their waste and to make some amazing things. I think that would be an incredible thing to do. So thank you, both of you, for this incredible hour. And I also wanted to highlight next week, we'll be taking this from Zoom, because now that lockdown's over, we'll be popping up on Instagram Live. And next week we're talking to Tamara Chinchik, who is
lovely Tamara,
CEO of something called Fashion Roundtable, and she's a journalist and stylist who actually got a job in Parliament so she could learn how to make policy to make change. So we'll be hearing about what she's been up to, because if anything, we need policy changed to help the fashion
to stop
industry.
those companies putting a 9p selling their clothes for 4p.
Well, exactly that. And also, you know, one of the biggest arguments around Brexit is this £1 billion fishery rights that you know, the UK wanting to have, but the fashion industry is worth 1 billion in industries, fisheries, 35 billion is fashion, and no one's doing anything. So I applaud what she's trying to do, and I think it would be interesting to add her to this incredible conversation we've been having each week to see what we can do and how we can change and be the change essentially. Yeah.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Honestly,
thank you, Anna, for coming. Thank you, everyone.
I'm downloading the app this weekend, and I will slowly and surely.
You can be my digitizing buddy, so we can keep egging each other on.
Yeah, we could do, actually. Honestly, it's a lovely thing, and I know I was saying to you earlier that I'm actually going to create my daughter's